Could a big move be coming for the Philadelphia 76ers led by Daryl Morey? ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst reported that Morey could make a significant trade soon. We're going to talk about that throughout the duration of today's show, and this is why you subscribe to the channel. Because when there's chatter about the Sixers potentially making a move, or if they do make a move, we talk about it right here on this program. Let's get to 21,000 subs. We're almost there, and if you want year-round Sixers coverage to keep you informed and in the know with this basketball squad, lock us in. And this is Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr. Could that big move be coming for the Sixers? Brian Windhorst was asked if the Sixers could make a significant trade before the deadline, and here's what he had to say. Possible. Daryl Morey is one of the most active executives in the history of the league, and he didn't acquire those picks to actually draft the players with those picks. The Sixers are about $6 million below the second apron, so he has some options to structure a trade. If they don't make a deal, it won't be because they didn't probe. Daryl Morey is always looking to improve his club. He's always probing. He's always trying to extract the best value, and we know how Daryl Morey operates. He's aggressive, and if he sees a path to upgrade the roster, he's going to take that path. Previous deadline moves for Morey. In 2024, traded for Buddy Hield. Last year as well, traded for Cam Payne. In 2023, traded for Jalen McDaniels. In 2022, he traded for the beard in James Harden, getting rid of the fraud that is Ben Simmons. As for that 76ers draft capital, the Sixers are loaded with some picks in the future that gives them and offers them a lot of flexibility and ability to make a trade. 2026 first-round pick. 2026 first-round pick via OKC, Houston, LA. 2028, they have their own first. They have the Clippers first in 2028, and then a first-round pick swap with the Clippers in 2029. The top 76ers trade candidates, these are players who they could trade away. You have KJ Martin. We talk so much about him because he could really serve as salary filler to execute a trade. Eric Gordon, older player, can hit the three. In moments has been okay this year. And then there's Reggie Jackson if a team needs a guard who is capable of scoring the basketball. The bottom line here is that the Sixers have acquired assets to make a move. It's what good organizations do. The cupboard is not bare. In fact, the cupboard is pretty attractive to other teams. And we know that Daryl Morey also likes to say, the roster you start with is not the final product. You can make a lot of subtractions and additions to a basketball team. That being said, if you are going to trade these picks, the picks are pretty valuable. The trade candidates that you have, not really that valuable. And if the Sixers do make a move, it better be for a player who can make a real impact. Why make a minor splash on a pencil dive when you can make a big splash with a cannonball? So, Chip, we know Daryl Morey. He's aggressive. He's made a lot of moves before. He's a mover and a shaker. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he's out here canvassing the league, trying to find a way to upgrade this roster, especially with the way they've played as of late. They had that good stretch in December where they won a bunch of games and dug themselves out of the cellar in the Eastern Conference, but past 3 games, the Suns, Nets game was fine, but Warriors, Kings, they've kind of gotten embarrassed in some of these games. I mean, against the Suns, first of all, a super ugly game to watch. I know no Embiid, but, man, they just could not score to save their lives against a Suns team that's been dysfunctional. The Warriors have been pretty dysfunctional after a hot start. The Kings fired their head coach. They've been dysfunctional, and you lost to all 3 of those teams within the past week after it looked like you were starting to gain some momentum. So I know for a fact Morey is not pleased, not satisfied with the roster they're feeling right now and the way some of these guys that they thought can make an impact are playing at the moment. Now, do I expect him to go out and trade Paul George? I don't think so. But, guys like KJ Martin, a couple of guys we showed, it'll be interesting. Does he want to move like a Kelly Oubre or a Caleb Martin? I personally wouldn't, but you can still get upgrades to the roster. Moving someone like KJ Martin with some salary, get up to about 12, 13, 14 million, while you might not be trading for a superstar. And I know some people might be like, well, if they're going to make a big move, why not get a superstar? You can still really upgrade the roster by getting another piece that can start or be your top guy off the bench, because right now this team just doesn't have enough firepower offensively, especially when Embiid doesn't play. But even when he does play, they just need more guys that can impact the game. And with these picks they have, they're going to be attracted. They have some expiring contracts they can trade, which teams are always looking for expiring contracts so they can free up money in the summer. They have some potential assets to make a move, and you know teams are always selling, and Daryl Morey is always buying.
You know it would be a big addition to the Sixers team, and this player is already on the roster? It's the man who they paid this summer, Paul George. It just comes down to him playing a little bit better. Where has his shot gone? I know he's a little bit uncomfortable maybe being that third option, but look, Joel Embiid's missed plenty of games, and even when Embiid has been out, Paul George has been a little bit disappointing, maybe a lot disappointing considering all of the hype that came with that acquisition. Yeah, he's had a couple of knee injuries, but if he starts being the Paul George that we've seen before, that could be a big internal addition and boost for this team moving forward as well. So with that, today's poll question is this: will the 76ers make a significant trade at the deadline? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Coming up next, some potential trade targets for the Sixers if they do make a move. Stay tuned for that conversation and discourse. But first, today's 76ers Now, sponsored by our friends at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and sporting events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so that you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. Why I love Game Time: you get the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop as the event gets closer. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You want to go to a Sixers game? Awesome. How about Philadelphia Eagles, Green Bay Packers, NFL wildcard round game? Plenty of tickets available to check that game out at Lincoln Financial Field to be a part of a special and unique NFL playoff atmosphere. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. The super deal is the best value for that event. On-time ticket delivery, seeing the views from your seat before you buy, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and a whole lot more. Also, be sure to toggle the all-in pricing tool. Therefore, you don't get hit with any surprise fees at checkout. So, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. CHATSPORTS. Use that code CHATSPORTS. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. So if the Sixers do make that big move that Brian Windhorst said they could make, who are some players who they could acquire? A couple of players who we talked about on the show here. We'll bring back up Santi Aldama. Tall, 6'11", 215, stretch big. He can do a couple of different things on the floor. This year for Memphis, 13 points per game, 7 rebounds. The Sixers could use those strengths that he brings to the table. He has ideal size and that shooting ability to stretch the floor to play alongside Joel Embiid. Did not reach an agreement with the Memphis Grizzlies on a contract extension. We've also discussed the idea of trading for Corey Kispert, the Gonzaga product, who did sign a big deal not long ago. This year, a little bit disappointing, 11 points per game, and you're always looking for the three-point numbers with a three-point specialist to be a little bit higher on a good team with more open looks instead of being on a bad team. Could his numbers elevate a little bit? The Sixers team has really struggled to shoot, and Corey Kispert is a high-volume movement shooter. A player who I loved coming out of Baylor, Davion Mitchell. He will guard you all 90 feet. He will guard you sideline to sideline. He's a dog. He has no fear. The offensive game, it was a little bit of a concern coming out of Baylor because of the lack of size. He's only 6 feet, the lack of true shooting ability. But you want a player who's going to get up in your grill, who's Philly tough. Davion Mitchell is that guy as a former lottery pick. He's a small but feisty guard, hard-nosed defender, gives you another playmaker off the bench. And then there's Simone Fontecchio, 6'7", 209. Santi Aldama and him, yeah, they'd probably be that Spider-Man meme to a certain degree. 6.5 points per game. The past 2 years, he's been a 40% three-point shooter, average defender at best, but the shooting, it could be worth it. There's Trey Jones, the brother of Tyus Jones, backup point guard. If you want a ball handler who can create for that second unit, dish out some dimes, not getting a ton of playing time with the San Antonio Spurs. He's really become the odd man out with San Antonio. They did make that acquisition for Chris Paul, young playmaking guard, as a buy low target. So, Chip, a few players there, all of different varieties. Any player that you really like? Any more thoughts here?
So I think Santi Aldama has to be the guy the Sixers go out and get. And it's going to be a name that people might be like, that's a big move they're going to make. Look, Santi Aldama's had a very, very good year for the Memphis Grizzlies, and he is exactly what the Sixers team could use starting at that 4 spot. You know, a guy that has the size, but can also shoot it. And, you know, you think about the Sixers roster, like, Caleb Martin's been better since Christmas. Credit to him. And, you know, he's a guy I want to keep around on this team. But you don't really have a guy that has the size of Aldama, that also has the skill set that he has. I mean, he even showed it back in the Olympics. Like, he can score from all over the floor. He can rebound the ball. He's become a better defender. Very, very underrated player, in my opinion. Again, Memphis didn't sign him to that extension, so that tells me he might not be a part of their future, of their long-term plans. I don't think Morey would be scared off going for a guy like him who's only making $3 million right now, because I think he's a guy that would be a big upgrade over KJ Martin. And if you're dealing KJ Martin, some salary filler, you know, a first-round pick, potentially. I don't think I'd give up the Clippers first for that, but still a player that I think would immediately elevate this team and help them out with their weaknesses, which their biggest weakness right now, I think, is still shooting the basketball and scoring, and that's why I think Corey Kispert's a great option as well, who's signed long-term on a great deal. Been, you know, 38, 40% three-point shooter, and been a little bit disappointing this year for the Wizards. Of course, you know, awful team, but a guy that has shown better play in the past. He got that contract for a reason and would really, really help where this team struggles. And then I continue to harp on this in the show, but Kyle Lowry, Reggie Jackson, to me, are just not reliable enough as your backup guards, especially with McCain being out.
Facts.
So Davion Mitchell and Trey Jones are younger guys. I think that's part of what this team needs as well, just to get younger. They're running out so many 30, 32, 35-plus-year-old players out there, and, you know, it works to an extent having those veterans and those guys in the locker room, but how are they producing on the court? And Reggie Jackson and Kyle Lowry are not consistent enough. There was a stat I saw the other day. Kyle Lowry has spent like the least amount of time guarding an opposing team's ball handler of any player in the NBA. So when he's out there, they try to hide him.
Yeah.
They don't want him guarding whoever has the ball because he's pretty much a traffic cone out there at this point in his career. So, you know, Trey Jones, Davion Mitchell, 2 younger guys who can dribble the basketball, make some plays and get your offense going, because this team just struggles so much to get in their sets and get their offense going. It's like, especially when Embiid's on the floor, it's Maxey, go figure something out. Paul George, go figure something out. And Maxey usually can figure something out. Paul George has not been able to, right?
Yeah.
And then similar with Simone Fontecchio, just a guy that got an extension from the Detroit Pistons after he was traded there last year. It was good in the second half of the year, but been bad this season and hasn't gotten a lot of run. Another guy that I think on a better team, getting open looks, would just be able to knock down some more of those corner triples, wing triples, and has a little more of that size. So all 5 of these guys, I think, would really make an impact, even if they're not, you know, huge names. Like, you're not trading for a Zach LaVine or whatever. You don't have the money for that. They can still make a huge impact on the court, especially when you consider where this team struggles and what this team needs to do to get better.
Yeah, good stuff from Chip right there, bringing some great insight to the table. And so we round out with this. Let's discuss it here, and I want you to discuss it and debate it down in the comments section. Your favorite 76ers trade target. We're responding to all comments headlined by Chip. So let's go.